Anything about Dhuum, Mal? Is Dhuum one that I should talk through as it happens? Or anyone else in chat curious about how Dhuum functions? Because I can try to offer some. Is that other Unstoppable still in here? Oh, they left. Tragic. Please do Dhuum explanations. Okay. Only need statues to get Voice in the Void. That's rough, Sadiq. That's rough. Partially seen this one. I know there's some soul capturing like before. Yes. There's not, so on Eater, I know I showed you the skill 1 and skill 3 to kind of ascend and descend through 3 different layers. There are no layers here. Once you lose your soul up there, once you take a green, you're just at the one plane up there. You can kind of see these pink orbs flying around up there. But you still need to gather 5 orbs to get your soul back, and you have much less time if you have to do green. It is a very important, but very, it's not hard per se, but if it's very punishing, it's very unforgiving if you mess it up. So while we're waiting for LFG, I'm gonna try to talk through what I can off the top of my head. So when the fight starts, we're gonna have about 2 minutes of running around the room as the Reapers spawn in. It's punishing for high ping people too, yeah, because you have to kind of figure out where to be for it to properly count that you've collected the pink orbs. They're pink orbs like before. I think they represent these souls. You'll see these dead people popping in and dying. I think those represent their souls coming to the underworld. And with Grenth here, not here anymore, Dhuum has taken over. He's being kind of a dick about it. So that's the lore. There are 3 different orb sizes too. Yes, let me get there. Let me start over. Let me start from the top. So when the fight starts, we'll tell Desmina, hey, we're ready, start the fight. And the Reapers, which if you played Guild Wars 1 on any kind of end game level, you might recognize these Reapers, at least in name. They don't quite look like they used to, but in name, you should recognize these Reapers. So they'll come in one by one every probably 30 seconds or so, starting with this one up here. This one's usually designated the arrow. And this is the first one. This will be the first green that happens. When the fight starts, skeletons will spawn, spiders will spawn, flesh golems will spawn. The skeletons take extra power damage, the spiders take extra condi damage, and the flesh golems die after an amount of time. Generally, you'll have someone kiting, and by kiting, that means they grab those flesh golems. Their death timer starts after they've been struck, but after they've been struck, they fixate on that one person. And that's usually the kiter. See, a kite G2. So kiter usually also takes the second green. The greens are split up into 1, 2, and 3, and it's pretty simple. Since this is the first green that spawns, that's green 1, that's green 2, and that's green 3, and it goes around. You can only take every 3 greens because it gives you a weakened soul debuff, so that if you try to take another green, you just die. You just fall on the ground and die. After 2 minutes of running around and fighting skeletons and fighting spiders and the kiter doing their thing with the flesh golems, Dhuum finally stands up because the 7th Reaper is spawned in over here. Dhuum finally stands up. He's like, all right, I got to deal with this shit, I guess. Usually the tank will take him over here, kind of over here. And you basically just beat him up. He swings his scythe. He puts a bunch of little necro staff marks on the ground. I have no idea, Doodad, no. He puts a bunch of staff marks on the ground, little ones. Don't stand in those. Don't be in front of him. Let the tank handle it. He doesn't hit very hard if you have some toughness and protection and things like that. So the different things to worry about. You might get a bomb where you'll have a special action key, and if you detonate it, the closer your allies are to you, the more damage they take. It is pretty important that you get the hell away from your group. It's also kind of common practice to not press the button at all, just run away from your group, let it time out on its own, and then come back to your group. You'll probably see me have to deal with that. There is 2 different soul splits. The major and the minor, I think is what they're actually called in the game. The minor one sees Dhuum slip into the floor, and he comes back out of the floor at one player. It picks a player. It's different every time, and he slams the butt of his scythe on the floor. It makes a big nasty orange AoE that does a ton of damage. You cannot dodge it, you cannot block it, you cannot even invuln it. And this is a particularly egregious uninvulnerable mechanic because even after you go down, if you were to get downed in it and your allies pick you back up, you know, normally when you stand back up, you have a few iframes, you have a moment of invulnerability. Guess what? This particular AoE does not care. It will down you again instantly if you let it. So it's very difficult to res somebody out of that puddle. It is very important to res people out of that puddle, and it usually takes 2 or 3 or 4 tries because they can usually only inch a little bit out of this puddle. This doesn't seem like a bad group, so you might not have to see that. So that's one attack. Let's see, his base attacks, the bombs are covered, people are taking their greens, the fight's going on. Once he does that small poop, I call it a poop because it looks nasty, it's not anything you want to be anywhere near. It's the small poop. He does the major soul split. It's usually, depending on the group, between 60 and 70% of his health if the DPS is good. And what you want to do is you want to look at him. He'll dip to the middle. There'll be a great big orange AoE that will encompass the entire arena. And you want to look at him because when he knocks your soul out of you, he knocks your body back up against the wall. And so you slide back up against the wall. You're given a bunch of torment, which used to be really mean because torment used to do its extra damage when you're moving. So you just got hit pretty hard. You have torment and you have to move to get to your soul again. It used to be much meaner. Now torment only hits you if you're not moving, so it's a little nicer. That said, your soul, I will be able to show you this. Everyone has to deal with this. Your soul will be a pillar of light. You won't see anyone else's soul. You'll know you don't have your soul because your health orb will be blue. You also, I think there'll be some indicator on the squad UI, but the easiest is your health orb will be blue. So you'll get knocked out of your soul. You're gonna push back to grab your soul. He's also doing something, they call it the big suck. And so he's got his scythe in this position and he's dragging you towards him. It's a constant pull towards him, and there's a orange AoE about this big. It's definitely bigger than that. It's probably this big or so, and it doesn't kill you, but it hits you really hard. I've gone down to that a handful of times. So you want to get your soul back and then run away, and while it's pulling you in, you want to kind of stay away from it as best you can. Swiftness is great for this. Movement abilities are great for this. Shadow steps are great for this. Desmina, from the very beginning of the fight, will be throwing orbs around, orbs of power, I think she calls them. They just give you super speed. If you need one of those, grab one of those. That helps a lot. And then after that, after it stops, it's back to business as normal. The tank will take him where the tank needs to. Usually the tank will stay in the middle, or will take him up this way towards this. There'll be a Reaper here. And so don't take too many orbs because your kiter and green people need them. That's a good point. Don't take them if you don't need them, because it is fun to turbo around, but especially if you're just a DPS or like a boon DPS or whatever, you need to be on the group. There's no need for you to take all the orbs. Now, after that first big suck, he's going to be kind of over in this corner area. Once you get him to 60%, he will start doing a new attack. This attack is called Shackles, and what it does is it picks the 2 closest players to him and shackles their souls together. So you have to separate to break the shackle. Because if you don't, after a few seconds, it materializes and it really starts hammering both of you. And it is very difficult if people do not spread enough, because if they both go down, your whole team is struggling to res both of you. And you can't even move and make the damage stop. You're still taking that shackle damage. It's very dangerous. Meanwhile, Dhuum doesn't care. He's going to keep doing his puddles. The green people still need to go. Spiders are still spawning. Flesh golems are still spawning. It's dangerous. It's very important to break your shackles. Now, at around 40%, I am going to go ahead and take this food. At around 40%, he's going to start doing a big, I call it like a golf club swing, because he kind of sweeps. Or like a sweep. It's like a broom action or like a golf club swing. Do not get hit by that golf club swing, because it actually breaks you. I don't think this is intended, but he'll have these claws come up from the ground and try to pull you in. If you get hit by those claws and you get hit by the golf club swing, you get like stuck and you're like rooted under him until he teleports with one of his soul splits. It's very dangerous. So let's get started. This is the beginning. There's no Reapers yet. And it looks like the tank got the messenger. Here's the flesh golem. You don't want to be any in those nasty orange circles. That is danger, 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 danger. They hit like a fucking tank. But if you do happen to grab one, I might grab one just to show you while we're in pre-event here. Kill the spiders. Oh, also, to make things worse, if someone misses a green, it kills the Reaper. So watch. This guy's going to take his green. And he's going to become, like we saw at Eater of Souls, he kind of goes up there, and he's going to go grab these pink orbs. If you're not doing green, you don't really need to worry about that, but it is an important mechanic that you should learn how to do, because it is important. I can. I'm going to show you. I'm going to take this green because usually the first G2, the kiter is kind of busy. So someone takes the first G2. So I'll take it so you can see what it looks like up there. And then when we get back, we'll resume talking about the fight. So Doom's gaze falls on me. If no one takes this green, this Reaper dies. If no one handles spiders and they kill the Reaper, you lose. Any Reapers die, you lose. So we're going to grab that big pink orb. That's very important because that represents a skeleton. If you don't grab it, it spawns another skeleton and they hit very hard on the Reapers. Again, Reapers cannot die. It's why the kiter has to take these flesh golems because it's spawning and it's going to come over here and try to beat up this Reaper. We can't let that happen. You see there, the Bone Pit Reaper just spawned. Commander's taking that green. Everything's good. We're still dealing with skeletons. Once this last Reaper spawns, Doom will stand up and the fight will begin. And you can kind of see some of these things I'm talking about. There's the bomb. They took it really far away. Good. I'm not going to do great damage because I'm going to be doing a lot of explanation, but that's fine. I'd rather, if you guys are here to learn, if there's something I can teach you. The Reapers are Grent's henchmen. Yeah, kind of. Yeah. These are the Reapers from the Underworld in Guild Wars 1. You used to have to take quests from these Reapers and help them claim back their respective regions of the Underworld. So it's really cool, a really cool bit of lore. I'm a monkey, so I'm going to dash out and start hitting the boss early, but usually most people wait for him over here. This should be the final skeleton we see throughout the whole fight. It should be this guy right here. And if not, then the group has to focus skeletons. I don't know if you noticed the big pink orb I took up there. Like I said, that represents a skeleton. If someone misses their big, you have to focus the skeleton. It's very important because they deal a lot of damage to the Reapers very quickly. Another thing that's very annoying is usually the skeletons are not near where you would normally traditionally tank Doom. So you kind of have to fuck off to go kill him. You have to leave. And that's not ideal. That's a bad situation to be in. So he's going to do his minor soul split soon. He's going to sink into the floor momentarily here. There he goes. And he comes up here. This is the big attack. You get hit by this poop, it's over for you. You get hit by it, you lose your soul. You got to get your soul back, then you got to get back out of it. It's a mess. Do not get hit by that. A good tip is when he sinks in and comes back up, go towards behind him. Try to go out from behind his legs, behind his butt. Oh, cracks. I didn't talk about cracks. Okay. You saw those cracks on the ground. It is the one mechanic in the game that I firmly believe is better to get downed by, because if you survive it, if you don't dodge it or block it, if you survive that attack, it fears you for like 15 seconds. And that means you're in Narnia. You're not even in the same time zone as your group anymore. All right, here's Big Soul Suck. We look at him. We're about to get knocked out of our soul up against the wall. Here's my pillar of light. You'll see I'm not out of the woods yet. And I'm not moving. He's sucking me in. We don't want to get hit because that orange circle, that's dangerous. I've got shadow steps and stuff, so I'll be fine. But that's one of the orbs I talked about with for super speed earlier. He goes right back into it, right back into the I'm gonna take shackles here because I want you guys to see it. See, your soul has been shackled to another. You get this yellow out here. Nice. This guy got bombed, so he was already across the room. So the shackles broke very quickly. If that didn't happen, he and I would both start taking a lot of damage. So like I said, tanks like to keep him here in the middle, so he's going to do his soul split here. He pops up, go from behind him. Look how close it is to behind him to get out of this circle. It's very close. If you try to run directly away from him, you have a much further distance to cover. It's a lot harder. So try not to do that. Tank comes over here. This green will be up next, I think. I didn't summon it. Oh, I got shackles again. I'm going to run away. There it is. You see that big white burst? That means the shackles are broken. Also, cracks. He does cracks once in a while. Do not stand on the cracks. As the fight goes on, they splinter and fragment more, so there are more cracks to worry about. So just be aware of them. Do not let them pulse under you. That's when they deliver their fear and a lot of damage. Like I said, it's better to go down. We're getting soul split again. Backs to the walls. We're going to run out here. We got a quick cleanse that time. Grab our pillar of light. We've got our soul back. We're good to go. Now look at, there's a lot of deathlings beating up this Reaper, so the kiter's got to go over and handle. That might not even be the kiter. That might just be somebody looking out for the group. Because if that Reaper dies, we lose. Now luckily in normal mode, the Reapers are pretty healable. It's not the end of the world if the Reaper loses some health. You're usually able to take care of it. See, look, he jams his scythe in the ground. Look at how much they're fragmenting. Look at all the damn cracks. They kind of light up, and then that big pulse, that's when the fear happens. Oh, also that was the golf club swing. I should have showed you that. All right, I've got bombs, so it's something I got to deal with. I'm going to run away. That was a good minor soul split right up against the wall there. We're going to grab the super speed and we just wait here. We just vibe out, let it time out, let it happen. because if you let it time out, the timings with the major soul splits work out to be much more forgiving, much nicer to deal with. Here, he's going to do more cracks. I want to see the golf club swing. Here it is. See, look, you see these claws coming in? They will pull you towards him, and he will hit you with that golf club swing. Your character gets bugged and stuck jittering under him. Now, 10%. We've essentially beat the main part of the fight. He's going to split all of us up into that green as if we were doing a green. We all have to collect these orbs. Everybody in the group has to collect 5 pink orbs to continue. And what's got to happen is 7 players, now that the Reapers are dead, this is lore-wise Reapers are dead, so this is sort of the part of the fight where it's okay. We have to ready check to make sure everyone's ready, and we have to all go out and channel one of these seals like the Reapers were doing in order to damage Dhuum and finish him off. It looks like we might have to... I'll take this one, I guess, because I don't see anyone over here. Once they've all channeled properly, Dhuum falls, and he is damageable once again, and we can just finish him off. If we need to run out and do the seals again, if we don't get him in this burn, then, you know, so be it. But there it is. That's Crash Course Dhuum. Any questions? Any questions? This is going to be on the test, so you better study. And any of these mechanics can be messed up and failed, and they are very, very punishing a lot of the time, so beware of that. No, Dudette answered you. There is not. The loot is still there, but there's no achievement for it. That was a terrible Willbender pull because I spent the whole time explaining, but there it is. That's how you do Dhuum. Any questions? That's okay. Any questions? Any mechanics I didn't go over thoroughly enough, quickly enough? Anything I glossed over? Anything I didn't mention? Anything you saw that I didn't point out? What do you think? I think I'm damn near ready. Good. I am scared. Lorena, it is actually a very punishing raid. Wing 5 is, in my opinion, the most punishing and unforgiving raid, even though a lot of, like, half of the fights, half the encounters are just events or whatever, and they're not, like, bosses. But it's very punishing. There's a lot of insta-kill. There's a lot of, if you fuck this up, you wipe your whole group. There's a lot of, you know... There's a lot of things like that. Wing 5 is very demanding and very punishing. So being scared is I don't want you to be scared, but it's understandable. It's an appropriate reaction to be a little bit leery of Wing 5. Oh, I already opened these with my static. I don't know what I'm doing. I like to come down here and open these chests, but I appear to have already done that. Oh, I didn't get this one. For a green. Are the pink orbs like Suan? Do you have to jump while collecting them? No, you take... So when you get to 10% at Dhuum, or if you're on green duty, when you take your green, it automatically levitates you up to that level. And then you have... I think by the time you actually get up there and are able to collect the orbs, you have like 11 and a half or 12 seconds to collect 5 of the orbs, and you just move into them. It can be beneficial to... There are ways to practice if you have a thief, or I think even a mesmer could maybe get some practice. All you need is a Dhuum instance, and what you do is you stealth the Reaper, so you have time for that first green to happen, and you take it yourself, and you can practice the pinks without holding anyone else up, or, like, you know, postponing a kill from a kill group. But what happens is it automatically puts you at that level, and then it's a good idea to sort of park yourself in front of the pink orb and let it fly into you, because the collision detection up there is not like super duper hyper accurate. And it's actually been tweaked a few times in the past. I actually, when I went from DSL to fiber, I had to relearn it because the timing was different. I used to sort of be able to visualize where behind the pink orb I could be to get credit for it. And guess what? My ping is better now, so that's... I had to relearn it. I have to get closer for it to count, so... Also, something I didn't touch on is when we did Eater of Souls over here, you only need to grab 5 pink orbs to get put back down, but because of how groups double up the pink orbs, I had an extra stack. I had actually grabbed 6 pink orbs, so I had an extra stack of it. It's the same effect that Dhuum uses for its pink orb mechanic. So in that exact specific instance, I only needed to collect 4 more orbs. I already had one, basically. I had one left over from Eater, which is very niche and very rare, but kind of cool. Still kind of a cool little, you know, like, hey, I already got some orbs for Dhuum. And if I didn't have to take that green, it would have lasted the whole fight, and I would have only had to collect 4 at the very end. I did not explain the medium orb. So there are three sizes of orbs when you get up there. I didn't really touch on green. Green's a kind of a... It's not like an advanced mechanic. It's obviously important, and people do need to know how to do it. But generally, when the first time you go into Dhuum, that's not something you're going to have to worry about. But if you take green, the small orbs, I mentioned the large orbs represent the skeletons, the big executioner dudes, whatever they're called. The small orbs are called, the small orbs represent those little spiders that kept spawning. So any of the small orbs you grab are spiders that don't spawn. Large orbs you grab are skeletons you don't spawn. There are also medium orbs for the flesh golems. You can grab those if they're there. Don't go out of your way for them. It's usually not worth it. The timings might not lay out. You might not even get the opportunity. But if you happen to see a medium one, grabbing it means that is a messenger. That is a flesh golem that doesn't spawn. It makes your kiter's job a tiny bit easier. So that is, I believe that's Dhuum. Are there any questions? Is there anything at all you're not sure about? I cannot tell you how many times I've done this fight Okay, I'm just now noticing the camera does that. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. I never knew the camera did that when you enter this room. Now we spinning, baby. We spinning. Yes. When you take your green, I'll try to show you. It's going to be a little bit difficult. When you take a green, when you go up, you always go to the left. You go around this way because you're big. Every green has to grab a big. Every single green that people take tries to spawn a skeleton. You have to go around to the left. You'll see it and it'll be over there. If you miss it or if you die and the skeleton spawn, or even if you grab it and you die, that's better in some regard. Because if you miss it and the skeleton spawns, if, for instance, when we started the fight, when I was talking about it, we're over here fighting Dhuum, right? We're over here beating his ass. If someone missed their big, that skeleton spawns over here and begins trying to attack this Reaper. That's nowhere near the boss. It's a cluster. It becomes terrible from then on. You have to reorient the tank. The tank has to make decisions. You as a group, if you got any power DPS, like I mentioned in the very beginning, the skeletons take... Lorena, thank you so much for the sub. I suppose that's a reasonable compensation for a quick Dhuum crash course. Thank you so much for the sub. I really appreciate it. But yeah, it just causes problems. If you miss a green, you just wipe. Everybody dies. You just have to start over. But if you take your green and then you miss, you're very welcome. You're absolutely very welcome for explaining. And Top Soul, thank you for the follow. Welcome to the stream. So yeah, it's really important. If you miss the green, like you just wipe and you start over, it can be a little frustrating as the fight goes on. Like if you've got the boss at like, 25, 30, 12% and someone misses their green, that's a buzzkill. That sucks. That feels terrible. But like I said, you have to sort of make decisions on the fly if a big is missed, because then you have the skeleton. Do you have power DPS? Do you send them over? Does the tank come over and bring everybody and cleave it down? Meanwhile, Dhuum's still swinging, cracks are still happening, soul splits are still happening. It just becomes a clusterfuck very, very quickly. So it's important. It's just important to know the mechanics and stuff. Thanks again, all. I mean, there's only 2 of them left, but... Anyway, there's your Dhuum crash course. Any questions? You're very welcome for explaining. I genuinely feel like my best content on this channel is when I'm rambling, and if that rambling happens to be raid explanations, like, I am all for it. I am absolutely, utterly, and completely all for it. So do not even hesitate to ask questions. I'm all for it.